Welcome to TCQ Podcast. TCQ is the Creative Quarters, a platform, a community that is set to educate you through mentorship and to equip you having access to tools and resources through partnership and sponsorship. Welcome. I'm glad to have my friend and my brother here this morning, Kabeni. A lot of us know him as Kabeni, but his name is Bernard Kalu. I'll allow him to introduce himself to us. He's an international amazing, photographer. He's a legendary photographer, and I just allow him to introduce himself.
Hi everyone, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to you, wherever or whatever time you're listening to this. I'm so honored to be here. Thank you so much for having me on your platform. I mean, there are people that when they call you just leave everything you're doing and run and answer. He's one of those people for me. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
My name is Bernard Kalu. I'm a photographer. I do street photography. I do documentary photography. I like to believe that I'm passionate about people and how they live, how they take up space in this world. Like generally, that's my passion. Just how people interact with their spaces, and that's the kind of photography I do. So street is so heavy for me, even though I started doing street before I knew what street. Yeah. Wow. Thank you very much.
Awesome. So this particular episode is actually going to capture, you as a photographer, street photography, documentary, and everything photography basically. But let you start with, telling us about, people, places, and values that have shaped you to become the photographer that you are today. If you can speak to that.
It's a story I've told many times, how I started photography. I always said that the decision to start photography wasn't linear. I didn't just think, after school I'm doing photography. But it was when I did my IT first. I did my IT somewhere in River State in Bonny Island. And while I was there, I was in this oil and gas company, and wow. I mean, it was a dream at that point. Everybody just felt, after IT, most of my contemporaries, they were like, after IT, we're definitely coming back here. We have to come back here. We have to be staff. Because, I mean, the life there, they take care of your kids. They do this for you. They do that for you. So it was like the dream. But somewhere within me, it wasn't what I wanted. Because I spoke with a lot of people there. And those people there sounded like people that were very smart people, but I felt like they were not giving enough to the world. So I felt like they were being paid to just be docile, even though they were making money for this company, or as it were. I'm not against people. I mean, there are times and seasons, but at that time I just felt like Nigeria needed more than just me coming to sit down in air condition and just be earning this money, and I just felt my reach won't. Impact wise, I just felt I was not going to do enough. But I didn't know what I was going to do then. So I finished this IT, went back to school, finished school, and came to Lagos. I tried to start getting do the whole job search and all, but after about a few months, I went back home, went back to Umuahia. Home is Umuahia. That's where my mom is, and it was there that I was in service one day, and my pastor in my local church in Umuahia, he was just talking. He was just randomly just looked. He said that God never said that your sustenance, or that you must walk in a place to end. That what the Bible says is the work of your hands. That what can your hands do? Okay, I went home and started thinking, what can my hands do? And before then, I had stumbled on the camera. Like my uncle gifted me one point and shoot camera. So I played around in school. You know how everybody starts? We're shooting flowers, we're shooting lizards. So I'd done that whole, I'd played around taking a few pictures. So I just thought, maybe photography is it. Maybe I should give this thing a go. But the concern of everybody, of every parent, of every family member, of everybody that has your interest at heart, they're like, are you okay? Will you would this be enough to sustain you?
Yeah.
So I went online to check for successful photographers. I found the Kelechi's, the Tai Bello, as she's called, T.Y. Bello, but someone calls her Tai Bello, and I like it better. T.Y. Bello, I saw Uche Opairoha.
Yeah.
I saw this other person I saw, Kele Akaniro. This Kele Akaniro man. I met him too once. Great guy. I saw Yetunde Babeko.
Yeah.
Like these are the people I saw online. I'm like, let's see this thing now. Yeah, so that was literally how the official way I said I was going to do. I started photography, but how I said street photography was a different route. Like I didn't, like I said earlier, when I started photography, I didn't think I was doing street photography. It was something that came down the line. Should I go into it now?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so I started photography. I came back to Lagos. I was shooting. I was second shooting for people. Like I'd made a couple of friends. So when they had weddings, I'll go second shoot for them. And I had gotten a few gigs of my own. You know, I was building my portfolio at the time. But I reached out to a lot of photographers then to intern. But I mean, nobody replied. But it's interesting because most of the people I reach out to are now my friends. So it's actually cute to think about it. I reached out to everybody you can think of. Like I don't want to mention names. I don't want to call their names. But I reached out to you. Yeah. So I sent DMs then. But the only person that replied me, I always talk about her whenever I have the platform to talk. It's Wani Olatunde.
Oh,
is it Olatunde?
Yeah, Wani Olatunde.
Yeah.
She was a wedding.
Yeah, she's in the UK now. Yeah. Wani will always be part of my story because, I mean, she just, you never, like, that's why I try as much as possible. I stretch myself as much as I can to, like, I always make sure I reply people because you never know how far that little, oh, hi, can go.
Seed.
So, exactly, seed, very strong. So, I reached out to her and she was the only one that replied me at the time.
Wow.
She was like, hi Bernard, at the moment I'm not taking any interns, but I see your work. I just think you should keep shooting. Just keep shooting, you'll find your way. I mean, that was all she said. Until tomorrow, like, that's what I took. I just kept working and yeah, but down the line, you know how events are, at the time, events were the only things popping in the industry. Like, you're only shooting weddings. I mean, that's where the big bulk was. That was where the money was. So, if I'm not second shooting, I'm either shooting my wedding or second shooting for somebody. And mostly it happens on weekends. And most times I had more second shooting gigs than my own personal gigs. So, during the week, I'm literally just free, literally. Like I didn't know so much about maybe doing business like as far or during the week you can be doing business like doing your numbers. I didn't know those things there. I was just waiting for the next gig, you get. I mean, naive young me, so I was just waiting for the next gig. I wasn't even trying to, even though I'd registered my business at the time, but that was all I knew to do, register your business. But I didn't know that, there were steps you could be taking during the week. You don't just wait for the gig. So I was just waiting. So at some point, I started having a lot of imposter syndrome. So like my mind literally suffered at the time. Like I don't want to say I got depressed because I don't think it was depression, but I know surely that I had imposter syndrome. I had a lot of there was anxiety. I was just on overdrive in my mind,
and that's based on lack of clarity as to what to do.
Exactly. And another thing I feel contributed to it was then social media, like every other day you're scrolling, seeing contemporaries, you're seeing classmates, you're seeing friends. Oh, this one is already
a manager.
This one is already abroad. So it just felt like I wasn't doing enough with my life. So I was judging my entire existence by the highlight reel of other people's life. But I'll just literally shut the door on myself. I'm not doing anything. I'm just thinking, just stressing myself unnecessarily, judging myself wrongly, until a friend of mine reached out, said he had a camera he wanted to sell. He had a Fujifilm X-E1 he wanted to sell. And they had seen a few pictures I had done with my phone, like, because, I mean, we like taking pictures. So I bought that camera. And that's why people say, camera is just gear. I agree, cameras are just a gear. But I'm a bit biased about Fujifilm. Sorry, I'm calling it gear. Because at that time, that camera was like a beacon of light for me. Literally, it got me out of that space. Like, I always say, I snapped out of it. I snapped out of it because of that camera. So I got the camera from him. Every other day, I'll just take walks on my street, meet people, like take pictures. So it wasn't about my introduction into street photography was not about street photography. It wasn't about trying to get pictures. I was just literally trying to live. I was trying to be okay. So that's why most times when I talk to people, when they ask me some kind of questions, sometimes initially, but now I've been able to reverse engineer my process and I know what to say now. But initially, it was always difficult for me to explain stuff to them because what took you to the street is not what took me to the street. You get? So most time people are like, oh, and so are you not a friend? Someone? I'm like, you don't understand. What took me there was literally trying to leave. So if someone even engaged me, it was what I needed. I needed to engage somebody, to speak with people, to share. You get? So it was it's a totally different dynamic for me than any other regular person trying to do street here. That was it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you about, how you overcame, shyness, and also, just overcame that fear of walking on the street shooting, because this is Lagos and they can break your camera, seize your camera, or just hide you, as we'll say. So how did you overcome that shyness and the fear of capturing? They say street is always posing, waiting for who to capture.
I said that actually.
Okay, yeah.
That's
So
my quote.
awesome. Because I know I've heard it before, probably at I think it was Soto's workshop. So how did you? But I think you've actually explained, because your motive, what really got you to the street, is not for the gain. Basically, it's for liberation. That's amazing. I know to an extent they've called you the high. There's a way you see the street that so many other people, you don't know. How do you? I know sometimes we might not necessarily have to know the end of a thing, for example, have full understanding of why we're doing what we're doing. So, but how do you take, how have you moved from street to gallery? How have you moved from street, to influence? How have you moved from street to making money?
So, very interesting thing what you just said, that you might not always see the full picture. You might just always get that nudge to do, then eventually the picture unveils before you. God said to Abraham, leave but he didn't know the end goal was not even Canaan. The end goal was Christ, this new creation. That was the end goal, all the way from Abraham. So I like that. I'll take it. So first of all, I want to go back to that street and fear question. So there's the part of what led me to the streets. How, it wasn't about the photos. It was literally me about being liberated. Me find gasping for air, engaging my neighborhood. So I always say, if you want to do streets, there's a line I like a lot. Charity begins at home. Start from home. Love begins at home. When you carry your camera, start from your neighborhood. Sometimes, because of how we consume pictures online, which is good, people just see photos and want to go to CMS, want to go to Urban, because you saw some other person. You want to go to oh God. Makoko has been bastardized. So they just want to go to Makoko. But there's a story in your house. Have you seen how light falls on the fork or the spoon in your kitchen? Have you taken that picture yet? You get? So when you start from there, that's how you build momentum. You need to, momentum doesn't just start. You need to get rolling before you build momentum. So when you start shooting from home, it's easy. So when you literally extend, you spread out, you move from home to maybe the nearest bus stop. You're not like you were when you were just in your house, just with your camera. You've already, I don't know what's the word for it. There's just something you've because of that momentum, that action you've done. There's just something there's a courage that comes with it. Also, there's a thing about recognizing people's spaces. So most times when why I don't have any fear is because I understand what I'm doing. there's the part of how I started doing street photography, but there's an understanding I have of this thing now. I'm literally documenting my time. I've seen a lot of pictures of time past, of maybe not so much of Nigeria, but I've seen a few of Nigeria, but of maybe New York, of London, people that documented 1880s, 1990s, and these guys literally they literally immortalized the time in which they lived. You get? So that's literally what I'm trying to do for my own day. I take your picture, you live forever. Literally, that's what it is. So I'm not I know we use the word take your picture. I'm not trying to take something from you. I'm trying to give something. You get? So me, I'm having this understanding. I already have. I
like that line. I take your picture, live forever.
You get? So I'm not trying. Like, I know that I'm trying to. I'm giving if there's anything. So I feel the fear comes from you thinking, oh, if I take this picture, when they see me, when they see you, what did you do? You're literally you're doing something. You are contributing. So I feel that mindset helps. So even when somebody comes to you, you don't already feel like I should hide because I'm doing something wrong. So the mentality is very key. That you're on the street taking pictures, it doesn't mean like you should know like what, even if you don't like, you're just doing it to release yourself, but you should know the value of the pictures you're making. You get?
Yes.
Okay, I'm currently working on my book, Pictures from 2014 to 2024 of Lagos, a decade of taking pictures in Lagos. Wow. Trust me, how Ojota was the first time I shot Ojota, it's not the Ojota is today. You get?
I remember your Ojota picture that went global.
You get? So like things change. So I'm literally making these places live forever. Like I'm telling the story of my world. You get? So it's, if anything, I'm adding value to these spaces. So I think knowledge, or you know how light casts out darkness. Sometimes knowing casts out that fear. Like it's the ignorance that make. So I mean, you know how they say fear is not real, but danger can be real. So when somebody accosts you or come to you, you already know that you're not doing something wrong. So when they come to, like, I've had maybe encounters when guys were like, I'll just smile like, kilo shele. They're like, your photo, I'm like, hey. I'll be like, oh, do you want to? Do you want photo? They're like, no, or snap me. I'll be like, okay, come and pay. Already there's a conversation. They're like, I won't pay. So you get, so I feel the mind, or what you have at the back of your mind helps with dealing with that whole fear or shyness thing. And I used to be very introverted before as well.
I was gonna get to that.
I was, because I mean, being shy, I used to be very introverted, but the camera is like what do you call it? It's like there's something someone used, like a shield. Have you noticed that there are people that when I was talking to a friend of mine, Obisomto.
Oh, awesome.
So he just recently just said that he was talking about when his dad died, that he was trying to shoot, like just to like max the whole emotion. Wow. And they collected the camera from him. As soon as they collected the camera, he just like cried. Like he was wailing. Wow. And I totally understood it, because when my wife put to bed, like I literally had the camera shooting. Wow. So it doesn't matter what's happening. If I have my camera, I'm already
your connection.
I'm already phased off from. So I won't feel it so much, because it's like a wall. You get? So I said that to say that the whole me being shy doesn't matter when I'm in the street, because I don't like that introverted me doesn't like you're interacting like a sword with my camera first than me. So there's a common ground to
awesome.
Talk. Yeah.
So I'd like you to probably just give like a hint on, your movement from street, to exhibiting your work in galleries, beyond Nigeria and all of that,
Yeah. So, like I said, it wasn't a linear path, but one thing that I'd like to credit a lot is, I mean, there's the God factor, definitely. But there's also the gift of people, especially in our space. I know you might have good work, but you need your work to be spoken about. You get? There are a number of people that have really been instrumental in my journey. Like I'll mention names like Andre Siebo, because there was a time I mean, because of how I started doing street photography, the whole idea of whether applying for grants or entering for competitions. It wasn't a thing in my mind. I was literally like pushed with maybe by friends like maybe Chris, even my wife at the time when we were still dating. She'd be like, "Oh, you need to apply for this stuff. You need to." I'm like, "See, you should leave me. I'm just trying to take pictures." So there was a portfolio review at the time by Nacho in Lagos, 2017 or 2016, that I applied for, and I was shortlisted. And at the end, we had just 3 of us, and the prize was $10,000. It was me, it was a boy, Obayomi, Anthony, and one other person. And at the end, Obayomi won the money because it was. I was like, as soon as it happened, I felt so bad. I was like, you people see why I don't like all these application things. But it was such a learning process. And even though I was sulking at that moment, I felt bad. Andrew reached out to me. Andrew was like, "Let's have a call." And we had a call. And he was saying, like, he told me so many things. But one of the things he told me that really helped me was like, "See, your pictures are nice. But nice is not a good thing to say about pictures. Because you're a storyteller. You get, your pictures there should be a coherent story. You get, because then I was in quote king of single pictures, because you're just street is about like fiction. You're just taking the best shot, but there's no body of, it's not a body of work. There's no story. You get, so it was like, if you watch the pictures that won, or the project that won the
morning,
I think it was a story about squatters in Unilag in school. So you know, squatters, how somebody will get an apartment, another person is squatting, another person is squatting with the person that's squatting. So it was such a beautiful story. Till tomorrow, I still go back to actually try to find Obayomi's work on. So, but mine was just random pictures of different places in Lagos. But even though it was different places, there was no coherence in the work. You get, it wasn't coherent. So he spoke to me, he told me stuff, and like literally that conversation literally boosted me up. Also, there was somebody else. There was Jumoke Sonwo. Jumoke Sonwo I know she still runs it. She has a gallery. It's called Revolving Arts, and that was where I had my first exhibition in Lagos here. There was something she said to me one time. We were in the same space, and someone was like, someone was just trying to say, "Oh, this is your work. You know, you can sell your work for X amount of money and cash out and so." And she just looked at me and said, "Do you want to?" How did she word it? Something about in the line of, "Do you want to be more like one hit wonder, or do you want to do this for the long run?"
That's a big question.
And I knew where she was going. And I said long run, and that was all. We never went back to that conversation, but I took something there. So meeting these people like kind of shaped my mind. Kind of like made me understand the industry to an extent. So I knew that it wasn't a sprint thing. Like, you know how weddings are, where you just get a wedding, you get paid, you deliver. But it was a long game. So eventually I started getting recommendations from someone like Andrew. Andrew reached out to me. There was some people wanted pictures for this, for that. Tom Sata. So literally people then like, those people recommend you to places.
Awesome. Fantastic story. You know, you talked about people now. You've talked about your work not just being fine, you know, but what story is he, you know, telling. And I think you've also mentioned, I'm trying to remember what you mentioned concerning, you know, the exposure that conversation has given you and all of that. You know, you talked about the long game. I think that's what I want to remember, you know, the long game, because I noticed that, you know, for some years now and in recent time, I don't know, maybe it's a generation thing, you know, people are not really about the long game anymore. It's more or less like you can watch YouTube and you jump into more like starting something of your own. There's really no room for understudying people, service again, and all of that, you know. So, what role as corporate training, you know, what role has it played in your formation as a photographer?
So we're in the microwave generation. I mean, it's fast food, fast cars, fast everything. So people think, oh, it should relate to literally everything in life, but it doesn't work that way. So when you say, okay, first I should even talk about some trainings I've been opportunity to be part of, or some spaces. I told you I reached out to a lot of people. I really wanted that. I wanted to be somewhere. Like I really wanted to serve somewhere, but because of how our industry literally boomed at that point, everybody was just like thinking, nobody was thinking systems. I mean, now we have systems, we have the likes of Gazmadu, even what you're doing with TCQ,
Yeah.
like, but then it was mostly one man gang, people just trying to do stuff. So what I ended up doing was I just had my ears peeled for platforms I could be part of. And there was something at the time called Street Shooters. So it was championed by Adenka Yusuf, Esquire.
Yeah.
He's in Canada now, like so many other people.
You guys have gone.
So he was trying to start like something. He just wanted like, we'll pick a day, a group of photographers who just hit the streets together, take pictures. And I thought it was really nice. And I attended the second one. And it was as a result of that, what's it called? That photo walk, that I met a couple of people that even translated to my wedding business at the time, because I now had more people that were shooting weddings that I could be friends with. You get, so I think the likes of Dami and Diko and them also. Also, there was somebody called Kele Akaniro. I mentioned him earlier. He did like a workshop, a lighting workshop. I heard about it from Laffy, Lowo Lafe. Yeah. So I attended it, and it was just a one day thing. We had it in Chicken Republic or something. But like I met him, we spoke, and also I feel like I've been opportune to meet people that, even outside photography, beyond photography, be able to meet people that are, I don't want to just use level-headed, but people that are holistic, people that are not people that have their values set on things that are eternal. Because I shared with you how I met a young man recently that literally said that, I was asking where are you going to? He said he's going to Ibadan, I think. I'm like, oh, what's happening in Ibadan? He said he's going for work. I'm like, oh, nice. What work do you do? He says he does Yahoo. Like, he left. I've never been as stunned as I was that he blandly told me, oh yeah, this is my work.
Wow.
And I'm like, what is work? You get, if work is about value, about adding value, so how is Yahoo work when you're literally stealing from people? So I think it's just, I call it a privilege, because I won't say, maybe I feel like this generation, like you mentioned, maybe people don't have access to inspiration as maybe like we did in our time. That's what I feel. Or they are literally enticed by,
like, the photo work, like the photographers hangout, like, because I know we consistently used to have that. Smoothie Friday with Jide Ojikoya, and all of that. Then photo work with yourself and some other stuff like that.
Yeah, that's why, like, I was like, oh, people, you can move, you can do stuff, but I mean, this is home. Charity begins at home. So, like, it's important we have structures that would keep this thing running, because it's not so much about the feel. I mean, you can feel good about being a blessing to other people, but you never know, like you mentioned seeds, you never know what you're leaving, like seeds you're planting in people's hearts, because if we keep going at this rate, there's accident ahead.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Fantastic. So I want to ask a question. You talked about getting on the street, not knowing any other thing other than to register your business, and what will you do differently if you were to start your business of photography basically in 2025? How will you go about it, knowing what you know now and knowing the opportunities that are also available to you as a street or documentary photographer now? What will you do differently? What would the systems and structures be like?
Yeah, so if I were to start my business today in 2025 or 2020, whenever you listen to this, first thing I would do is I would so things are easier now in the sense that there are platforms or there are bodies that exists. You know, we mentioned TCQ, we mentioned Gazmadu's. Yeah. When like there was no laid out part when we started. It was mostly everybody just trying to, like, it was proper freelance like,
and passion.
It was freelance, freestyle, passion. Yeah. We were all like, there was no structure.
Yeah.
But if I were to start now, I would try any opportunity I have to find myself, not necessarily meet, but I'll attach myself to somebody that already has the experience. Because there are mistakes that were made. There's time that we wasted that we shouldn't have wasted. Like that could have been not just try and error. It could have just been in service of somebody that knows the part. You know how the Bible says, if you're faithful in another man's business, like if you're not faithful in another man's business, who will give you your own. So I'll fight to be able to be involved in somebody else's own, somebody that was already leading the way, because it will save me time. Also, personally, I think that if I were to start now, I wouldn't do photography. I mean, personally speaking, I wouldn't do photography as work.
We're still gonna get there.
So there are two things. If there are two answers to this question. So if I were to start and I had to do photography as business, as my work, I would ensure I will fight tooth and nail to be literally under somebody that's already leading the way. So it's either I'm going to I've mentioned Gazmado a couple of times. Hi guys, I've mentioned Gazmado a couple of times now. I've mentioned there's this other person. I mean, I know documentary photographers don't really have, because it's solo work most of the time. So but I would just try to be closer to these people, because there's just wisdom of experience that you get from these people, because it doesn't pay to. I mean, there's the ego, there's the pride of saying you found your way, but who does it help? So you save time, you move faster, but on the other hand, if I were to do it now, I wouldn't do photography as, I would do something else for work and have photography as just my creative outlet.
Wow. Why is that?
Because so you know how I photography is a language. It's a way to communicate, and like you have people that write to remain truthful, to remain to have your integrity intact as a writer. Let me use as the writer. It will have to be at the expense of, and like if that's all you do for money, to remain truthful, to remain to have your integrity intact, you suffer for it. Because, for instance, it will mean you let's just say someone that is writing for newspaper, for instance. People will bring propaganda to you to pay
publish.
To pay you for it. But if you say no,
you're gonna go hungry.
You go hungry. And for someone that likes to, just imagine a Chimamanda working for Punch newspaper. I don't think they will never experience the beauty of her writing. You get? So I feel like, even though Chimamanda she's a published artist, she sells books, but there's the liberty, the passion, the freedom of it that now, like, eventually you now start making money. So I've gone the route of just keeping photography as my hobby or creative outlet, but eventually I know there'll be money in it. But actively trying
will
to
not
make
be
money from the
focus.
onset, I'll try as much
Because
as
a
possible.
lot of people get into photography because they think money is in it.
Yeah.
And there's money in it, really.
Yeah, there's money in it, but it's a long game. It's a long game, especially if you're not doing the weddings. Personally speaking, I would have tried to avoid doing photography for money.
Wow.
But if you're doing for money, surrender yourself to learn. Because and another reason I have the opinion of people surrendering themselves to learn is this: we have a lot of, like, the industry is not as strong as it should be for an industry that is this old in this country. Like, we are still very, because they're just single, like, there's no,
like individual.
we're not strong enough. There's no, like, body. We're just very, like, flickers everywhere. There's no full, like, so
There's no voice.
There's no strong voice. You get, it's just, oh, this one is saying something to the another person. So but imagine where you had people, one umbrella, a group of people, one umbrella. And that's what we even try to do. Like, when at some points I was thinking, okay, with this photography thing, what do I do? I reached out to my friend Femi. I reached out to him.
Yeah.
He knows, like, he has experience with business, marketing and all. And me, it's just my camera I knew at the time. Like, I'd left my computer engineering back. So I'm like, oh, let's collaborate. It took a while, but eventually we formed.
That was what led to your collaboration.
Yes, we had Vetella Studios. You get?
Yeah.
It's that pursuit of something stronger. There's, I mean, how many banks? There's a difference between a jaw and a bank.
Say that again.
Like, but it's true.
So what you're saying basically, in my hearing, is what I'm hearing is more or less like you're talking about photography business or photography industry is not an institution
Yet.
of today.
True.
So, okay.
True. And it's, I mean, there are pros and cons, but it's mostly because barrier to entry
very low.
Even though it might be a bit high now because of dollar rates, cameras are a bit expensive, but it's still low.
You can rent.
Actually, you can rent.
You can rent.
So it's still low.
Yeah.
So it's still like things are not what it should be yet. So I feel like if, for instance, you have I mean, people that go to school for other things like theater arts.
So people should be able to go to school for photography.
Yes. For instance,
the business of photography.
Yeah. Like, you have they are talented actors, but you can differentiate them from those that
actually went to school.
Yeah. And that's why most, like, from that 2018, I started, like, aside the few classes I was part of, I started looking for opportunities to brush up my, like, to have proper photography knowledge. So I did, I went for a workshop in Kigali with 7 Academy, VII. Beautiful workshop, had all sorts of facilitators. Andres Server was one of my mentors at it. So, like, because I knew then that, see, there's no something my pastor likes to say, there's no raining without training.
There's no raining
without training. So I knew that I had to, like, learn this thing, train in it. You get? Yeah. So that's it. Also, to get back to the question about street to gallery. Even though, like I said at that time, I was naive. I was just very concerned about what I was seeing then. I wasn't seeing so far. I had dreams, but they were not goals because it was just things I believed that would happen. And I've been so blessed because all my dreams always come to pass. Like, God has been so gracious to me because there are things that happen to me now that I can't really draw as per, I can connect to that 5 plus 6, this is what happened, this is what I did. But things just always fall in right places. But if I'm to just talk from reverse engineer or re-engineering my story, reverse engineering my story, I would say how it happened is people I met, the names I mentioned, keeping my relationship with them, because the actual real currency in life is relationship. People the values in people. Paper money is not real value. It's a mirage. Real value is in people.
In your last show.
Thank you. That's
the name of my fashion brand.
Actually, real value is in people. So I, as much as possible, I know there's a borderline to being there are people that are just not sincere people. Like I can smell bullshit like that. Like there are people that just want to come close to you from no, not that kind of. I mean, being genuine, like genuinely fostering a relationship. You get nurturing a relationship. Like when somebody, like, okay, for instance, with Andrew, there are times when, like, when I knew how, like, I remember the call. I remember how that call made me not lose my way, like, because at some point, like, I felt so bad. Anytime I had the opportunity to see him, I will always have just something for him. And even at some point, sorry I'm mentioning him, but it's not that, like, Andrew is not somebody you see every other day. He's very reserved. And I could tell that he was a bit uncomfortable, but it was just my way of honoring him, you get, because this, like, I know what he did for me, you get. So just because the issue now is this: people want the end goal, they want the results, but nobody wants to
the principles,
the process, the principles. Like they see something like, even with pictures, there are a lot of people that I feel like had issues in the street where the reputation of the street being bad or breaking camera is from you just see a picture, oh, nice composition, you carry your camera and just head to the street. There's no backstory of this person.
What is the how?
What is, even I had to even ask myself, what really is my attraction to the street? It's like I found answers beyond the street, like beyond me heading out to find clarity and liberate my mind. There was also the fact that I was actually born here in Lagos. I was born in Oshodi. I grew up in Mafuluku, all those Adekunle Road, all those areas. But when I say these things, people eye me, they're like,
you?
Who's this one? So I now realize that the reason why I'll always, like, because these places, like this whole Lagos as a whole is home to me. So most times I figure that I literally realize that my reason for always wanting to take this picture is more like to actually prove that this place is home. This is, no matter what you think about me, no matter whether you say, grow, that this place is where I consider home. So it's like a testament to my reality that I was born here. This is home for me. You get to, but it took like deep. It was in 2020 I was able to, because I mean, when everybody was shut at home, that was when I had time to actually question myself and
retrospect.
Say, this street you're always doing, like what, like why? And that was the answer I found. So at the end of it, or like when my book comes out, it will be like a
compendium of
my love story to this city.
Wow.
You get,
so like, what are the 1-2 steps? I know, you said grace, but for the sake of people, you've actually looked back and I did this, I met this person, they told me this and all. For someone that is watching that is new to the street now, or want to go on the streets with a long game in mind, and to be able to get to international gallery and all of that, what are the 1, 2, 3 things that you think they should consider before going on the street and getting to gallery?
Okay, first, ABC, always be shooting, always be creating. Good. Then secondly, get any there are a lot of bodies now, organizations are coming up, like for instance, there's a friend of mine, John Fidel, is doing like a photo walk May 1st. When opportunities like that come up, just go, because there's something about meeting people already doing this thing. Also, now there are lots of competitions online. Look out for competition. Apply. Don't be like me. That didn't send all these things. I didn't know. Like, I just thought I didn't need it. But apply for these things.
Don't
because
shoot for Instagram.
Thank you. Instagram is a show glass. You get. It's not like all the cars that a Peugeot or a Chevrolet or whatever, what they make, they don't. It's not all the cars that you see in a show glass. It's just samples. You get. They have inventory. They have where you have these things. So that's another. Thank you mentioned. Thank God you mentioned that. The pictures you're shooting, like most of the pictures that'll be in my book, many people have not seen it.
Wow.
You get.
Wow.
So it's just like, there was a time when Instagram was it, like you use it to get jobs, use it to, but now have a website. Make sure your archive game is strong. Keep your photos. But to practically move from just taking pictures to actually now showing pictures, you need to find yourself in the network of people, of these people. When there are workshops, attend workshops, pay for workshops, go meet people. Any opportunity you have.
Pay for workshop.
I mean, it's value. And I always say something, that the money you pay for the workshop is always very. It's nothing compared to the value you get, and the value might not be aperture, exposure triangle. The aperture is meeting people, because the value is in people. Any opportunity you have to be in the same place with these people. Say, for instance, Big H. Big H, it's always dear to my heart. He has this workshop he does every year.
Follow the light.
Massive workshop where he literally brings every genre of photography. Now, you know what's beautiful about that workshop is the fact that you have people across the industry. So you have the street photographer, the
portrait
person.
Wedding.
Now, when you have opportunity for that kind of workshop, even if it's $1 million, I know it's not $1 million, but you get the opportunity to meet what, like, the desire you have for the kind of photography you want to. You meet a person that embodies it. There's something that meeting does to you there. I always believe that you get more via osmosis than being in the same space with people. There's something you get more than the things that you think you heard or you wrote down. Because grace can be air. You get. That's what I believe. You get. So there's that part.
Yeah.
Also, another thing you need to do is to apply for stuff. It's key. Apply for stuff, because
stuff like.
So there's something they call open calls.
Okay.
Open calls are maybe galleries in different parts of the world. They even have it in Nigeria, like Lagos Photo Festival, for instance. When they have the festival coming up, they try an open call out. Say, there's an open call. We're looking for our team is, say, what can I use? Koruba. So if you have pictures along this team, send in. And you have the review, and if you just make it already, you have an exhibition, a group exhibition. You get. So there are open calls, there are competitions, photography competitions. But I'm worried about competitions though, because now you have a lot of paid photography competitions.
Yeah. And
I'm not a fan of it, because they say the prize money is, say, $5,000. You're charging $50 or $15 for competition. You have like over 500 people apply. So at the end of the day, you're getting, say, maybe $20,000 from this whole thing. And many of them don't even pay the people, the judges. It's good. I've judged a couple of things. Goodwill is just, they reach out to you.
Thank you.
So it feels like another business on its own. So and I feel like it's not fair to young people, like someone that's just trying to get their work out there. So look for open calls. Enter when you see open competition. If you have maybe the change, then there's some that are maybe $5 or you can apply for those ones for competition. But that's one guaranteed way to get your work out there. But always be creating.
Awesome. Because
if you're like literally just waiting for the galleries before you. One thing Jumoke someone told me, she said, the time you have, the time when you're not known is the best time you have as a creative.
Preparation.
The time when your name doesn't ring any bell, when there's nobody calling you eye or nose or anything, that's your best time, because that's when you almost that's the time you create your most genuine work. Because when you now start getting accolades, sometimes it shifts your idea. Because, for instance, when you apply for a grant, you get money for the grants. Somehow the work you create will be something that you want, you feel should work for the grant people. Sometimes, awesome. Or like, so there's a lot of biases you are dealing with than when you're just enjoying yourself and creating work. So take advantage of your virgin time, your quiet season, because when it gets busy, you might not, you will miss it.
Wow. I don't know how pricing applies to street photography or documentary photography, because basically I'm a wedding and portrait photographer and all, but I know you've sold limited editions of your work before. You've exhibited, you've done documentary work like assignments for international organizations and all of that. So for newbies or someone that's even intermediate and all of that, how how have you handled pricing? For example, I know it's relative. It's based on the value you place on yourself and your work, but how have you handled pricing as a street and documentary photographer?
Yeah, so the good thing with documentary photography, especially, is that most times there's a universal agreed rate. It's called daily rates. So there was a time it was $250, it became $350, it became $450, it became $500, it became $550, it became $600. So there's a benchmark. When you start, when you're in that circle, when you start meeting these people, going, like what I said about meeting these people, you have conversations, you know what the going rate is at the time, at whatever time it is. But also, if you're starting out, it might pay you to allow the organization, allow them talk. Like, oh, they said they want you to say, yeah, awesome, that kind of thing. You're like, oh, you ask, okay, what's the can I have the
budget?
Brief?
Okay.
They give you the brief. Oh, like, what's the budget? Sometimes they just come and tell you, our going rate is maybe $400. The daily rate is $400, and most times these assignments are never one day. So it might be 4 days, it might be 5 days, it might be 2 weeks. So you get. So I feel it's a bit easy for the documentary space because most organizations already know the going rate. Also, now you have situations where they're like middlemen now, people that come and they say they're the media
photography
consultant.
agency?
Kinda like agencies. They'll say they're the consultant for these NGOs or for these organizations. So where they now hire you, and more like when the pay comes, it's split. They tell you how much they'll pay. So if maybe the main guys pay $700 or $600, they might be paying you maybe $450 or $400. You get. So you just need to do your do your math. If it works for you, you do it. But the good part is that most times it always spills over. There's always the number of days. There's also the, what's it called? There are other things that come, maybe per diem. Like there are other perks you get with documentary. Now, but the challenge is getting in that circle. So you only get those gigs by mostly recommendation, because an agency that has a budget of, say, $20,000 for a project, you want to give that work to somebody that a newbie. You want to go to your person. Then when your person is maybe not available, whatever that person says can do it, you just believe them. But if you don't have a relationship with the person, not necessarily having, it's relationship at the end of the day.
This is a function of positioning, right?
Exactly. So you're already doing your work. You already have your website. Your website is so important. You already have your website. You're creating work. You're putting work on. Something Andrew always says is, if you don't have up to 10 projects on your website, you're not ready.
Whoa.
You get, like, it's something he said once that I just picked. If you don't have up to 10 like different projects you've done, not assignments for organizations, personal projects. As a photographer, you're judged by your personal projects. Because at the end of time, when people are going through your archive, they're not looking at the work you shot for Cadbury or looking at the work you shot. They're looking at the work you made. And most times, if you watch even them, Harry, Cartier-Bresson, the pictures we used to hail them at their personal projects,
which is what people actually hire us for most of the time. Yeah,
because of they've seen what you've done. Then come and do this.
Awesome.
Yeah. Then the other question, prints. The same thing with prints. It's a bit tricky because it's based on the value you put on your work. And value is a very interesting conversation because you're looking at, for instance, this book I'm about to make. I'm factoring the fact that this book is a product of over almost 100,000 steps.
Waka.
You get.
Yeah.
So there's that. There's also the intrinsic value has of what's it called, of seeing the city literally evolve. You get. So when you're factoring all these things, they are not like they're not tangible things you can touch. It's not like bread or butter, but it's there. You get.
Yes.
So for prints now, there's also a standard rate globally, but you can decide how you want to do it. So to add more, to make it more, there's something called limited print, limited edition. So if you're making, if you just want to sell prints of a picture, you can just decide not to put any limitation on it. Just open it. You can sell as many as you want. So you can put that at it won't be so expensive because it's not art. It can be, since it can be found everywhere. So say you do like a 10 by 16 or 16 by whatever dimension, 12 by 16 or 10 by 12. You can decide to sell it for, say, $70 or $50, or because but when you're doing limited edition, that's this you can decide to put it for, say, $400, $500,
because it's limited edition,
for 10 edition or 5 edition. So the lower the edition, the higher the value you get. And most times it's tricky because when you're just starting, you will sell cheap because you're literally getting to the space. Yeah, you need to get out there. So as time goes on, your value increases. When as your career grows, even people that already have your prints, they hold on to it closer because
affiliation.
See, I have when you're maybe you're
I have a print
billboard somewhere.
It's
they're
my
like,
guy.
I have this guy's print in my archive. You get, so it's that's how it works.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. It's been an amazing session. Thank you. Thank you so much. There's a part that I would have really loved us to get to, but before we get into that, let me quickly say this. This has been an amazing conversation, and we look forward to actually having more of this. We're going to be bringing you the best of the best. Kabeni is the best on the street, and we're going to be bringing you the best in wedding, in portraits, and generally creative endeavor, not just photography, in cinematography, in music, in fashion, and creative endeavor, basically. So you want to be a part of this, you subscribe to this page, and also like, share, and at the same time, if you want to sponsor, please DM us, reach out, and we look forward to partnering with you, because this is actually going to be adding value to a number of people, a whole lot of people, both in Africa and outside Africa. So I'll just take the last question before we get out of here. Quickly, we have a short time. Life cycle of a creative, life cycle of a photographer. There's the lifestyle and there's a life cycle. For me, like I said before, now it's more like a football age, and you reference something that you wouldn't do this starting off as a full-time so I just want you to quickly talk about the life cycle of a photographer from your own perspective.
So if I had my way, my life cycle of most street photographers, it's literally their lifetime. Because you have photographers, if there's the Joels, and people make work until their 80s and all, because till they drop literally.
Wow.
But it's not, they're not actively shooting for clients. You get. So where the life cycle matter comes to play a lot is commercial work. If you're shooting weddings, you're shooting, and a little bit, she's in her 60s now, almost 70. She's still shooting commercial work, but those are the outliers. But generally, the life cycle for weddings, the hard, like not necessarily hard, but the very energetic events and all, I think it's not so much. It's maybe a 10-15 years gap. That's what I think. Because there are people, even though you still go to weddings and see some older people doing it, but you wouldn't want to fashion your life like that, you get. So that's where our conversation comes to.
I remember, I just saw a picture of an older woman, trying to shoot with a point and shoot, and at weddings and all of that, and Mama is pushing you by the side and all of that, Sorry for cutting.
So I agree with you that it's like a football, there's a life cycle. So one has to decide: would you morph into a proper business where you have employees or if you still want to keep doing this, so will you move to something else? Will you maybe start shooting like assignments, like maybe commercial assignments, and also indeed I agree there's a life cycle, because there are things I don't expect someone
You
at
to
a
do
certain
at
age.
15.
Yeah, but I
Yeah.
mean, as a street photographer,
Awesome.
I can keep
Awesome.
shooting till.
Kabeni, thank you so
Yeah.
much. It's been an amazing time. I look forward to. We're still going to do this again because there are lots of questions
Yeah,
as
thank
we're
you so
talking
much.
that is popping up and down.
Yeah.
But we're going to keep this short and we're going to
Thank you
do
so
it
much.
again.
Thank you so
for all the contributions. Thank you for inspiring
Honored
so
to be
many
here,
people.
honored
And
to be here. Thank you.
yeah, thank you guys for watching. Again, like, subscribe, and if you look forward to partnering with us, we're hoping for partnership. And yeah, let's do this. Cheers.
Bye.